Welcome to the show, Lucia. It's such a treat to have you here today.
And it's lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me on, Kimberly.
Listeners, we met at IABF, International Adult Ballet Festival, over the summer, and I just adored Miss Lucia. And so whenever I found out more about her, I was like, I have to have her on the show for this brand new season. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for asking, honestly. And I'm looking forward to all the different things that we're going to discuss today. A lot of things that we discussed actually at the festival. So
Exactly. Yeah. And so tell me a little bit, how has your perspective on life really shifted in midlife? What have you noticed as you've embraced the many changes that come along with this stage of life?
I was thinking about this and and it's hard to, first of all, think about what is midlife and what does that mean? And how do I know how do I know I'm in the middle of my life or towards the end? So where is my midlife? And one of my friends has decided to retire and she's going traveling around the world. She's a consultant, anesthetist. I'm so excited for her and she's going on her adventures. And I was thinking, yeah, we're getting to that age of retiring and we've known each other since school. So I always think of us as just two high school friends. I don't feel the years with her. And I've got so many exciting things that I want to do still that I find it hard to even think about age or where I am, or is it possible for me to do this, given that I am now the numbers are creeping up. And so I think it's a really exciting time. And I'm excited about all the possibilities. So for me, it means opportunities. It means being unshackled from insecurities that I might have had when I was younger. It means not being apologetic. And this is something that, again, I talk with friends about that often as women, and maybe it's through being socialized or different things like maybe becoming a parent or different jobs, or that we end up apologizing or we think we have to be experts before we try something new. And I spent recently a month in Los Angeles. I was in the back of a taxi, and the taxi driver used to be an investment banker, and he'd been in Los Angeles as long as I had. And and for him, it was a new opportunity, and he was taking up some acting roles. And if he doesn't know something, and he's super charismatic, if he doesn't know something, he'll just jump right in, he'll say he can do it, and he'll figure it out while he's doing it, or he'll find somebody else who can do that thing. And I find as women, often we want to be experts so that we're taken seriously in the room, so that we have the right to say, I have the right to be in this room because I've got so many years experience and I've got these qualifications and this thing that you're looking for. Whereas often there's a guy there going, yeah, I'll do it, and giving it a go. And I love that approach. And I'm thinking, because there's no such thing as perfect. Perfectionism is something I'm trying to let go of. Because actually, especially as a creative, and I work as a writer, there's no such thing as a perfect script. You might do 5, 6, 7 drafts, and then there's a shooting draft, and when they're shooting it, they're still rewriting it. And they might be rewriting it in the edit room as well. So there's no such thing as a perfect script. And in creativity, what does perfect look like? And I think we can get hamstrung and by notions of what is the right way to do something, rather than just having an adventure. So if midlife for me is letting go of some of those misconceptions and having more adventure and having more fun.
And what I love is what you were talking about before we began recording about how IABF, again, listeners, the International Adult Ballet Festival that we did in August, how that's had quite an effect on you. So can you speak to that and what performing did for you?
Yes. So I had loved ballet my whole life. And I thought once you'd got to being an adult, that was it. You can't learn ballet. And then discovering that they did have adult classes was just amazing. So I did I did a ballet exam and I did well in performing. And so this was a revelation because I always thought this is not for me, even as much as I loved it. And so attending the IABF, I was terrified. I can't even tell you how terrified I was. I was terrified doing the practice. Obviously we rehearsed their dance at home or over Zoom. Driving to the airport, I'm saying to my husband, I'm not sure about this. I don't think I can perform on stage. And he was like this. His eyes were on the road. He just kept driving. And he said, he wasn't even going to say, look, love, you don't have to go. Had he said that, I wouldn't have gone. I was just, it was almost like stage fright. And I thought, I find it hard to, left and right are always a mystery for me. So when it's your left foot, what's your left foot? Your right foot. So you're trying to get to grips with that. Then you holding two pieces of music and two dances in your head as well. That's hard. Then you're dancing with other people. Then it's staging and it's spacing and then it's costume, then it's makeup. It took me 2 days to learn how to put on false eyelashes. I am not sleeping in them. I'm gluing them. That's falling on my cheek. Do you put it on with mascara? I'm on YouTube. I'd never worn false eyelashes until then. And so I thought, I've got them on now. I'm sleeping in them. I don't even care if you're not supposed to. So a lot of new, and obviously I live in Britain, so it's a long way to go. So there was lots of new things to comprehend and getting to know people and get to know different schedules. I'm on a different time zone. So that's a lot of information for a brain to process, I think.
Yes.
And so it'd been much easier just to, oh, I can't do this. But during that week, oh my goodness, what a community. I feel quite emotional about it, actually. Mm-hmm. Everybody it was like a week-long hug, wasn't it? Yeah. Everybody just embraces you. Everybody's looking out for you. Everybody's making sure that you're okay. I got bitten while I was there. And it was one of the other dancers saying, oh no, I was doing some home remedy type thing. She's going, no, you need to take care of that properly. And then there was another of the dancers who wrote me a prescription and sorted me out. Otherwise, you could have been in a lot of bother. I just felt it was an unbelievably caring community. And then there's the performance. So I work as a writer. A lot of my time, I obviously go to meetings and collaborate with other people. Essentially, I'm in my office working alone, writing my script. And so to be part of something where I have to play my part so that the dance looks good. And so it's a huge responsibility, whether you're at the back, in the middle, or the front, because you want to do for everybody. And so when we did Waltz of the Flowers and a section from Swan Lake, and it was over too quickly. I remember thinking, well, is that it? But I want to relive that. I want to relive that excitement. And it was done. And I felt almost cheated because it was so good and so exhilarating that I couldn't believe that performance was over. And then I suddenly understood why actors love what they're doing, why dancers love. I suddenly understood why, because and it's not just the dance, you're connecting. You're telling a story, you're connecting with an audience, you want them to feel something, which is actually a lot like writing, because that's what I'm thinking about when I'm working. And afterwards, I just felt fearless. Again, in my job, there are networking events, you're meeting people. And when I was in Los Angeles, networking events, which I might have thought, oh, I don't know, this is going to be a bit nervous. I was walking in to the manor born, as we say, like it was no problem. There's no stage fright, no anxiety. And while I was there also, I had some headshots done for my website, so I'm getting all that sorted out. And actually, it's with the two guys. The two guys who took our pictures at
Yoshi and
Yoshi. Do you know, Yoshi. My mic has gone blank. It's the afternoon.
It happens. Yoshi and
it's not Stefano. Oh, can you edit this? I know you don't.
No worries. No worries. I'll put them in though. They're amazing, even though we're blanking on names. But Yoshi and the guy who did the popping. Anyway.
Yeah, so they did my
come. Yeah, good.
And when because they send the pictures through, and when they sent the pictures through, I saw that they were Los Angeles. So I said, I'm going to be there. Can you? I need some headshots, etc., etc. I'm looking for some creative shots for my website. And they said, yeah. So I sent 3 examples, and then we met one night in a studio in the Flower District. And then they would say, if you look down like this, or look up, or look to the side, within about 10 minutes, I'm just doing it. And then I'm performing, I'm doing the poses. And it was about 3 hours. I was suggesting, oh, what about this? The light looks really good here. What about this? And so the pictures that I got are amazing, amazing. And that was exhilarating, but I couldn't have done that had I not done the ballet festival. Because I wasn't thinking about what they thought of me. I was in the moment, and I felt very connected to when you're a child and you don't worry about what people are thinking about you. You just play, or you're whatever, you're doing whatever you're doing. You don't worry so much. And it felt like that. It felt like being in the moment. They call it being in flow. And the pictures are amazing. And I said to them, you make me look like somebody of consequence. I look like I'm the CEO of some multi-million-pound brand. And they said, you are a person of consequence. And that was like, that hit me as well. So but it is connected to that, to the festival. It was a kind of shift about being able to perform. I didn't get all the moves right. I cringe looking back. Oh, that's really weird. And what I thought was even stranger was that I thought I was strong in the movements, like the arm movements and what have you, because I felt as strong as I could be on stage. But when I look back, I thought, oh, I'm not present. And I thought I was, but I don't know if that makes sense, but I felt like that I was slightly not in my own body, even though I loved being on stage. And I just thought, oh, that's really interesting. So that got me thinking. And when fast forward a month later, I'm absolutely present in those photos for the headshot and what have you. And that was about learning, actually, was I worrying about getting this right? Was I worrying? Whereas in the photo shoot, I wasn't worrying about anything. If I made a silly face, so what? So what? I just won't use that one. And that was, again, life-changing. So these past few weeks have been moments of gaining clarity about how you show up in your own life. Do you look apologetic in your own life? Which is very easy to do. And then when I saw those pictures when I was in flow, I wasn't apologetic. And I thought, oh, there I am. And it felt more me. So I can't remember what question that was. Don't let me
It's about performing and the way, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what performing does.
Yes. Yes.
That's the performing, because you have to show up. You can't go on stage and go, oh, I'm really sorry for being here. You have to show up as the character, and you have to show up in your own life. And why show up apologetically? Why apologize for being here as opposed to saying, here, this is what I've got to offer. Let me celebrate you. Life is an adventure. Think of all the people. I'm excited about meeting people. I'm excited about other people's stories. I love that. I love that about my job. I love that about the ballet. And I think it's important to make those connections. So that's how it changed my life. And it was literally life-changing. I don't think I'll ever be that scared again.
Wow.
I'll never set up for something going, oh, what if? It's just, oh, okay, what if it goes wrong? So it's the worst that can happen. And worry less. Yeah, and that's why, as we were saying before, I was saying before that if I was the Minister of Arts, I would teach ballet and from kindergarten or nursery, as we say here, or right to high school. And everybody can learn, whatever your ability or disability or cognitive ability, everybody can learn. Whether it's just a beautiful arm movement, it doesn't have to be some grand jeté. Everybody learns something, and it makes such a difference. And I would love that. I would love that. I would love it to be so accessible to more people. And from an early age, I would teach it in jail.
Yes, yes, everyone. No, I love this. It's like math and ballet, right? These are the staples in your diet, so to speak.
Exactly. Because it's something about also those movements as well. When you're connecting to those movements, you're telling a story. And you have to be present in the story to tell that story. And so lots of different things can happen within that, realizations and revelations. And I think, yeah, I would do those old folks' homes. I would teach it everywhere I could, because it's a discipline. and also, but it gives you so much more. It's an amazing creative outlet as well. And it's a foundation for so many other dances as well.
Yes. Oh, I'm so happy to hear what a powerful effect it has had on you and what you've noticed. And what I hear you saying, I think is so important is it's like the embodiment of something is so powerful. It's such a powerful experience. And because we spend so much time here, and you, especially as a writer and listener, she is a screenwriter, right? Which
Yeah.
is like pretty impressive, which I'd love to hear more about. It's like you have to be here. And yet the body has so much to teach. And even when you are doing ballet, you have to be here. There's, as you said, the choreography, the staging, the spacing, the eyelashes. I'm with you. It's hard. But it makes a difference, doesn't it? Once you
Makes a
kind
difference.
of, yeah.
Eyes on stage or far away in the audience.
It's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
But yeah, putting glue on your eyelid, it's no joke.
I
But yeah.
just, yeah, so I felt, and now my makeup bag is so organized. I didn't have a makeup bag before. I was going to CVS buying makeup like on the day because I realized I had nothing and understanding why people wear stage makeup. And I've been watching silent movies and the makeup is crazy. And I'm thinking, why is it so much? But now I understand, oh, because probably wouldn't have shown up had people just wore ordinary makeup. It wouldn't have shown up in black and white. So the men have to have the lipstick and what have you to be seen. So for me, that whole festival opened so many other doors that are going to be with me forever.
Mhm. Yeah, it's huge. It really is powerful. And I love hearing how it's made an impact. There's a ripple effect, like the
Yeah,
networking event. You're able to just walk in.
exactly.
And one of the other pieces that we have talked about, which has really stuck with me whenever I see neighbors or what have you, is the pronunciation of names, right? With your spelling Lucia, and it's
Yeah,
Lucia, which can be tricky to remember because people are like Lucia or whatever, right? Even when you say Lucia. And we had talked about listeners how because I have a neighbor who always says, "Hi, Kim." And it just, I cringe, but I'm like, he's been saying it for 3 years and I haven't corrected him. So it's a little late. It feels a little late now.
yeah.
And you had mentioned,
Yeah, sorry, you carry on. I shouldn't interrupt. Go on.
yeah, no, it's fine. I remember you mentioning, and I can't remember if it was ballet, but it was someplace where you would go regularly and the person mispronounced your name. And then
Yeah,
you felt it was like too late in the game, like my neighbor, to correct them. So then you just stopped going.
yeah. It's
So
either
let's talk
that or
about that.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the apology thing. Whereas now I would just not actually Lucia. So I went to a ballet thing and they were calling me Luca. At first I heard
Luca.
Luca and I didn't know who they were talking about. And then I realized they were talking about me. And what I could have done, because I hate to use the word should, but what I could have done was say, oh, actually, it's Lucia, and not be worried that I called them out or something. But I didn't. So I answered to it because I realized. And then I thought, I'll mention it another time, but I didn't. And then I thought, I'm either going to have to tell them now we're like 4 or 5 weeks in. Actually, all those times I answered to Luca, which isn't my name, not even close. It's not my name. I'm really sorry. It's Lucia. I wish, then you get to that. Or I answered to a name that isn't my name. But it's even worse than that. There's a guy I know, and he calls me Lucy. And he's been calling me Lucy for about 12 years because I didn't correct him. And it's too late. It's just once you get past 4 or 5 times, it's too late. It's like a family joke now. My daughter will say, "Hey, Lucy, how you doing?" And I just think, I just empty. It's actually Lucia. And that's about showing up, isn't it? And not worrying that if you say to somebody, "Oh no, it's pronounced like this," I wouldn't be offended if I mispronounced someone's name and they said, "Oh no, this is how you pronounce it." I'd be fine. Rather than for years now, it's just way too late. It's just too late now. Answering to a name that's not yours. And that I think feeds into the showing up in your own life. Because actually, I have the right to be called by my name properly, as do you. And why do we think that's not okay to say, actually, this is how it's pronounced? Actually, it's Kimberly, it's not Kim. What is preventing us from just saying that? What do we think is going to happen?
And I guess, and it's tricky too when you're like, I have told. you before, like this is not my neighbor, but someone else, right? I have told them like twice before, right? I actually go by Kimberly and but still says Kim. And so other people in the class think I'm Kim and then they call me Kim. And then it's this ripple effect. And then at that point, it's just, I don't want to go. But I really appreciate what you're saying about recognizing like the value and the importance of that and to give voice to it.
Yeah. And it's hard to do because, and this is where I think the socializing thing comes in, that we're supposed to be nice. And I think maybe we should be less nice, because what does that mean? If nice means I don't get to be called by my actual name, I have to answer to a name that isn't even mine. There's nothing nice about that. Because I would want to get somebody's name right, and other people probably do as well. So what is that stopped me from saying, actually, it's not, I'm not Lucy or Luca or Lucia. It's just, and it's to me so easy. Lucia is to me such an easy name. And what is it we're afraid of? That they won't like us? If somebody doesn't like me because I want to be called by my actual name, do we need that person? Do I need that person in my environment? Really? So
Yeah.
I wonder, but is that being socialized to not make a fuss,
Yeah.
to be a bit quiet and what have you? So, because you asked before about what midlife looks like, and I think it's about being less quiet.
Yes.
And it's funny, I was going to see a friend a couple of weeks ago, and actually it's the one who's just retired and is going off on her adventures. And my suitcase is one of these ones with the wheels and it's rattling along, it's making a noise. And normally I'd carry it so that I'm not annoying people with the noise. And I didn't this time. As though I didn't make these wheels and I didn't make the ground, so it's noisy. Whereas in the past, I would have lifted it so that wasn't noisy and creating a noise nuisance. I just let it be noisy. And
Good
that
for
was
you. It's
it was
huge.
ridiculous, isn't it? It's ridiculous. It's a suitcase. And I wouldn't feel badly about somebody else with their suitcase. But somehow it's making a noise, making a fuss. I think there's a lot of that we experience as women. And we're afraid to take up space.
Yeah, so staying small, like I don't want to be bother with this like noisy suitcase. Now you're like rattling along. You're like, I am fine. I'm owning it.
With amplifiers at the side. Noise.
I love it.
Because honestly, and I have a daughter as well, and she's quite loud and noisy. And I used to say, "Oh, you're noisy," and she'd go, "Yes, I am." And then I realized, oh, it's okay. It's okay to be noisy. Why can't she be noisy? Why can't she be as noisy
Right.
as a boy? And
Right.
we're half the population. We're half the population. And think of all the gifts and the strengths that we have to offer. Why are we minimizing our presence in the world? It's crazy.
And I think for you, and I'm curious, and this ties into the work you do, have you always been in screenwriting? And is it a hard profession for a woman, or is it half and half? I don't know what the demographic makeup is of screenwriters in general.
So before screenwriting, I was a journalist. And so I've been in the business of words and reporting and research. So I've worked in local newspapers here and local radio as well. So I guess I've been in the business of storytelling for a long time. And I was writing stories from childhood. And even at 10, I was thinking of the stories, how can I get this published? So writing has never been a hobby for me, ever. And so I think that also helps. And so how I got into screenwriting was I had my daughter. So my son was at school, so he was about 4 or 5, and then I had my daughter, and I was having such a great time being at home. Whereas with my son, I'd gone back to work within about 5 weeks of him being born, and it was so tough. And I had no rights, no maternity leave, because at the time the law was different. And that was such a tough, heartbreaking time because I really wanted to be with my baby and I was out at work. So I thought this time I had proper maternity leave, and I thought, and it was coming to the end, I thought, I'm really enjoying this. What would I do if I won the lottery? I was just sitting there playing with my daughter, and I thought I'd become a writer and I would stay at home with my daughter. And then I thought, why don't I just do that? So I talked to my husband and I said, I don't want to go back to work. I want to be able to be there for the kids. And actually, I'd like to pursue this writing. And he was so good. And he said, okay, we'll find a way to make it work. And they were tough years because now we don't have an income. My income's no longer there. So it was tough. And so I did a master's in screenwriting. And then I was just sending ideas out. So it's a tough industry to get into. And it does go by, I guess it's a tough industry to get into, but there are more opportunities to get into it. So there are more contests and there are more courses and there are more opportunities. And those opportunities weren't there when I started out. So I think, yes, it's tough, but it's doable. And the other question is, why not me? Why can't I write the next Jurassic Park? Why can't I write a blockbuster? Somebody has to write it. So who is that magical person? Why can't I be that magical person? So it's been a long road. And so I took part in, the BBC used to have this training course for writers called the Writers Academy. It was 12 weeks. And then you worked on their shows. So I did that. And then you're then out into the world, as it were, and you're pitching ideas. You have to be a salesperson. And a lot of people think, I'm going to be a writer and I'm going to write my great work. Somebody has to see that great work. So you have to then go and pitch that great work to production companies. You have to read the trades. You have to build relationships. You have to treat it like a business. And that sounds like anathema to what people think creativity is. But screenwriting is a business. It's commercial writing. You're writing so that somebody can make a film, so somebody can make a TV show, so somebody can make a radio show. And there's a lot of money involved. And so you have to be professional at it. You have to know what you're doing. It is literally time is money. And so I've met people through the years, and I know that they see the writing as a hobby, or I'll write a couple of pages a day. And I think, well, that's okay, but a professional writer writes more than 2 pages a day a screenwriter. If I'm on a show, I've worked 14-hour days, 6-7 days a week. And you can be doing that for a long time. It's not great for your health, but that's the reality. And maybe I should just explain as well that in Britain, we don't have the writer's room system in the same way that they do in America. So I believe there's a system where the writers are all in the same room together. Well, we don't have that system. If you're writing on a show and you've got an episode to write, you're at home. And that's the sort of standard system. And it's hard work. And you've got multiple drafts, and then people are giving feedback. So you have to be able to take rejection, because there's a lot of rejection. You have to take getting fired from your episode. There's a lot of it goes on. There's a lot of disappointment. And there are lots of great things. It's an amazing job, but it is a tough job, and you have to be tough. Not insensitive, not brutal, not a bully, not cruel, but you yourself have to find your worth, I think, outside of writing as well. And so it can't be, so I always say I work as a writer. I never say that I am a writer, because I don't know, what if one day I am not able to write? Does that mean I don't have an identity? And I think it's really important to have an identity, that I work as a writer. I can say I am a writer, it wouldn't be inaccurate, but for me, that's my job. I love it, and it's my job, and I love my job. But I'm a person, and I always think about that. What's important to me is, how do I treat other people? How do I, when people come to me with a problem, how do I react to them? If there's a crisis, how am I good I am actually good in a crisis, I have to say. I don't flap. I just, let's get it done. Let's get things sorted. Because I would like to, I'm a screenwriter now, work as a producer. I'd like to get, and maybe one day I'll be hiring people. And I've worked with some amazing production companies. And I think, and then you come away from it feeling, even when you get notes, and nobody likes getting notes. You write your script, you put your heart and soul into it. Somebody goes, yeah, can you change this? And you go, oh. But there's giving somebody notes in a way that builds them up, and there's giving people notes in a way that brings them down. And if I get those kind of bringing down type notes, I always just rewrite them. I take out all the snark and the snide, and because actually what I need is information. I don't need to know. We all sat around the room and we all thought this, so can you do this? I think you want me to do this. I don't need to know the conversation you had and all the rest of it, because that doesn't help me give you what you want. And it just starts being a distraction. So I take out all that, I leave lots of positive things. I take out all the what I'd call snarky comments and then rewrite the notes. And there are some production companies, as I say, that they build you up. They build you up. They're still giving you critique. You still have to change things, but you're going away excited about bringing in those changes. You don't have to rewrite the notes. You don't go away having to pick up your ego, dust it down, and show self-compassion for half a day before you can get back to work. And honestly, it's not that people are horrible. It's just that it's about a pressure of time. There's
Right.
always, it's not about, I would say 99% of the people that I've worked with, I like. And it's so rare that I would meet somebody that I didn't like them. And I understand that when, especially when you're getting to shooting, there's just a pressure of time. And so the niceties go out the window. If I have my own sort of production company, I don't want the niceties to go out the window. I want, because actually it's just a script. It's not life and death. And you're dealing with a person. So my legacy is that. So that's why I say I work as a writer, because I want my legacy not to be, oh, she was a great writer. I want it to be, oh, she was compassionate, she was kind. She made me feel this good, because that's what lasts, not
Mhm.
that I wrote a script.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that,
Such a good reminder, especially, and that brings me even into the next question on around legacy, right? And what advice would you give to other women entering or navigating midlife? Because I love what you've shared of just, hey, your identity is not just in what you do, right? It's a part of who you are. And I had written down before we started talking also like the performance piece, how important that is. And the other piece, which I'm not sure if this really ties in so much to legacy, so maybe I'll put a pin in it, but spaces for decompression, which ties into wellness. So I'll circle back to that. But I'm just curious for you, with everything that you've learned and your ability to take your noisy suitcase through, what would you say you would give advice to somebody just starting midlife? And I think of midlife around 35, right? So with things that you have learned through this journey of really, like you said, taking up space.
yeah, I would say have courage. I have a theory, and it's probably disproved by science, but that often that who we are as children is who we really are as adults. And when I look back at what I was interested in as a child, I'm still interested in those things now. So I was making up stories about when I was a child, as a 4 and 5 year old. I was creative. I'm pretty much the same, and I'm angry about the same things I was then. They were, whether it's social injustice, I was cross about it then from a 5 year old's perspective, and I'm cross about it now. So I think largely a lot of what we're interested in as young people is what we're interested in as adults. So I would say it's okay to be whoever it is you are, regardless of people's expectations of you. And I think people need to take the time to find out, who am I really? What am I supposed to be doing in this world? What gift am I bringing to the world? Because we've all got one. And I think, and follow that path, because that path will be the one that energizes you. I don't have the Monday morning blues. I might be a bit tired after the weekend, but I don't think, oh, I don't want to do this job. I love my job. I would do it till the day I die. I love it. So find that thing that you're passionate about, and don't worry about people's expectations, because if you think about the logic of allowing other people's expectations to mold us, what does that do? That's not, we're then living to what how somebody else who doesn't know us as well as we know ourselves thinks we ought to do, instead of going on the adventure of discovering who we are. And that is an amazing adventure. Whether it's, as I say, me having fun in these photo shoots and discovering how much I really loved it, or discovering a love of photography that I didn't know I had, but just trying new things and trying. If we don't do that, then we'll never really be our true self. And the world needs us to be our true self, because we're the gift, aren't we? And our strengths are the gift. But we can't show up as other people. We can't show up as impersonators. Got to show up as ourselves. So
Yeah.
that would be my advice. And it's hard. It's hard. I read social media, and you'll see women saying, "Oh, this guy did this, but I took him back, and then he did this, and I took him back." And I'm going, "Why are you taking him back?" But at some level, if I don't take him back, he won't love me. If he doesn't love me, nobody will love me. There's 8 billion people on the planet. Somebody's going to love you. There are plenty of people to go around. That's not the issue. And we've all been there holding on to the relationship that doesn't quite work, whether it's a business relationship or a friendship or a romantic relationship. It doesn't quite work because we're afraid there's nothing else. That's it. That's all there is. That's not all there is. There's always more. And there's always different. And we have to let go of the thing that isn't working for us so that we've got space to find the thing that will.
That's such an important reminder. Thank you. And my second to last question is the spaces for decompression, right? So we were talking about this before I began recording. And I'm curious for you, what are your kind of wellness pieces that include spaces for decompression, like in everyday life? Are you taking weekly ballet classes at home? Are you involved in certain community events? I'm just curious, what does like Lucia's overall kind of care and well-being and decompression space look like?
So decompression are things like ballet. And but it's really funny about that because I'm in my office and my ballet bar is behind me. And because of redecorating and what have you, my space is cluttered with stuff from other rooms. And I realize actually, if you don't create that space to dance, I'm not going to dance. Even if I want to do it, even if I wake up in the morning, oh, today I'm going to do it. I literally have to have the literal space to do it. Otherwise, it can't be done. So that was a kind of lesson that I learned. So ballet is very important for me. When I was in Los Angeles, I took some in-person classes. And that was incredible again, because I loved being in that community of other dancers. And one day I forgot my ballet slippers, but they had some extras. But other dancers were saying, oh, I've got some extras. I've got some spares. You can borrow mine. And I just thought, I think that's a very caring community, the adult ballet community. In terms of decompression, because I work where I live. So it's really important for me to get out of the house. And where I live is semi-rural. So there are lots of lovely country walks. And so that's what keeps me sane, really, because you're seeing there's a river and then there's the trees. And one time I was working on 2 shows at the same time, and I was just stressed beyond. And I went down to one of our local parks and I was hugging a tree. And I didn't even care if people thought, what the heck? I just thought, and it was so good. I'm like, look, I was like, oh, this is really good. Thank you, tree. Now I can figure out this story thing that I couldn't figure out before. I don't care. You're laughing. It's tree's my friend. And it felt so good. And I've often thought I'd like to live by the sea, but I'm happy I'm happy in nature. And that's very important. So for me, the environment has to be almost clutter-free. And if you want to do something, you have to literally create the space to do it. And also being outside. Because whether it's cold, you get that lovely fresh air and suddenly, you're coming to life. So that's important.
Yes, absolutely. So reinvigorating or invigorating, right? To reinvigorate, it's almost you're a little prune inside, and then that opens you back up to like sunlight and fresh air and flowers and birds and streams.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, talking of prunes and hydration is another important thing because it's very easy for me just to drink cups of tea all day and thinking, wait a minute, I'm feeling tired. Do I need more sleep or do I need more water, or do they need both? And thinking about health and wellness and well-being, sleep is a number one, sleep and hydration, but sleep has got to be the number one, I think, as well. Make sure you get quality sleep. However, I've got blackout blinds, blackout curtains, sleep headphones.
Perfect.
Nothing's waking me up.
Yeah.
I go to bed listening to a story. It's like having a bedtime story. I never get to the end of whatever it is I'm listening to because I've dropped off. Then I wake up and it's the next day. You've got to have that quality sleep because it's hard to achieve what you want in life if you don't have the energy to do it. And
Absolutely.
everything takes energy.
Everything, yeah, and everything takes in there. Absolutely. No, it's just so important. And they're two such basic things,
I
but
know.
so important, hydration and sleep. So thank you. And I'm just like, okay, I need a little like reminder of my
Got mine as well. And no, because I was talking to somebody and they were saying, but if you have your sip cup at your desk, and I was thinking, probably a cup at your desk and a cup in the kitchen so that you don't have to then go and fetch. It's how do you make things easy to do? Because as soon as you have to think about where's that cup? Oh, did I leave it upstairs? Did I take it with? As soon as you start having to think, it's easier to not do. So maybe just have one there and then one in the kitchen so I don't have to then think about, you
right.
know, where is this thing? So making life easier that way. And I think more, yeah, more sleep, more water, good quality water, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, so important. And my last question for you, Lucia, is the name of the podcast is Tranquility du Jour. And so, how are you finding tranquility in your everyday in midlife? Of course, it sounds like hydration, sleep, getting out in nature, hugging trees, ballet.
Yeah, so I'm a very kind of active person, and the kind of stories that I write are either like grounded sci-fi, crime, and some are very sort of dark subjects. And I'm happiest when I'm active. So my idea of tranquility is I'm probably doing something. So I will be in my kitchen practicing an arm movement, or I'll be doing first positions, like just very basic ballet. And I love that, even just standing in first position, because you have to be grounded. You're going up and feet are going into the ground, your head, neck are going up, shoulders are down. So it looks like you're just standing, but actually there's a lot going on. And so ballet and music help me to find that tranquility. And right now I'm listening to Flashdance, What a Feeling, Irene Cara. I love. And so I find so tranquility for me is usually in when I'm in motion. And so it's either listening to music, I also play music, I play the piano, and that is where I guess that's where I find a space where I feel connected. And certain musical keys have an effect on me. And I know which those are. So I'm listening to something in a particular key. It then makes me feel connected to something bigger than myself, actually. That doesn't sound too esoteric. That's, yeah. So music, hydration, and sleep. That's where I find my tranquility. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Lucia. Yes,
Yeah,
such a treat.
it was a treat for me as well, because often you're asking me questions about things that I'm not even aware that I'm thinking. And then when I articulate it, I think, oh, yeah, that is what I'm thinking. And then you see that you've gone on a journey. We're all on the journey, but we're not necessarily aware that we're on that journey. And yeah, so I appreciate being asked as well. Thank you very much.